I find myself in a weird situation when I talk about the 80th Best Picture winner, No Country for Old Men. Because on the one hand, I absolutely adore this film. This is hands down one of my personal favorite Best Picture winners of all time. A fantastic film that does pretty much everything right. The cast is excellent, the cinematography is gorgeous and meticulous, the themes the film explores are thought-provoking, and it has some of the most tense and suspenseful scenes in cinema history. And yet, with all that being said, I don't think it should have won. In my humble opinion, No Country for Old Men is the greatest Best Picture winner ever that I personally wouldn't have given the award to. That's because in 2007, there was one other film that, incredibly, I love even more. That film is There Will Be Blood. It feels crazy to say this because I honestly don't have anything negative to say about No Country for Old Men. I genuinely think it's a modern classic, a masterpiece even. One of the greatest films of the 21st century for sure. It just so happens that another one of the greatest films of the 21st century was released and nominated the exact same year, and I just prefer that one a bit more. But I'm not gonna let that take away from No Country, which is gonna be the sole focus of the video from here on out. No Country for Old Men was written, produced, directed, and edited by the Coen brothers, and it stars Josh Brolin, Tommy Lee Jones, and Javier Bardem. It takes place in Texas in 1980, and it tells the story of a man who stumbles upon a briefcase full of cash, all the while a mysterious hitman is stalking him in an attempt to retrieve the money. At the same time, we also follow an elderly sheriff trying to make sense of the whole ordeal. The plot of the film isn't the most complicated. It's basically a 2-hour-long cat-and-mouse game between the two prominent characters. But oh my god, what a chase it is. The suspense in this movie was close to being unbearable at certain points. The entire experience was very engrossing. This is mostly due to Javier Bardem's now legendary performance as the film's antagonist, Anton Chigurh. Sure, Josh Brolin does an excellent job too. His character is very likable and you want to see him succeed in his mission. But Anton Chigurh is the big highlight of the film. For me, and probably for everybody else, I'm sure. His character was unnerving, frightening, intimidating, anxiety-inducing, the whole 9 yards. And Javier Bardem's performance is so magnetic and his screen presence is undeniable. The best way I can describe this character is that he's Heath Ledger's Joker, only better, and he came out 1 year earlier. He is chaos and death incarnate. He's the Grim Reaper. He's the unstoppable force. He's all of these things combined and more. He even shows Terminator-like qualities, shrugging off injuries and treating himself like it's nothing. He's a machine. I can't think off the top of my head of another villain that manages to elicit a feeling of dread and futility quite like him. Anton Chigurh is a truly special villain, one of the greatest of all time, and a big part of why I love this film so much and hold it in such high regard. Of course, No Country for Old Men has a lot more going for it than just its villain. All of the technical aspects of the filmmaking are top-notch as well. The script is fantastic. It's expertly paced, thematically rich, and filled with terrific dialogue, showcasing the Coen brothers' trademark wit, and a perfect mixture of seriousness and dark humor. The cinematography, as mentioned before, was terrific. I especially loved the desert scenery and the color palette, which adds to the look and the tone of the film. I even liked the lack of music, something that I usually don't like in other films. Most of the time I want music in my movies, but here the lack of a musical score just added to the tension. I thought it was the correct decision in this instance. The editing is also fantastic. The sound design was great. I especially liked the sound Anton Chigurh's shotgun makes when he fires. That was pretty cool. In short, everything about this film is great. No Country for Old Men is a movie about how our world is changing for the worse. Tommy Lee Jones' sheriff in the movie is overwhelmed by the carelessness, the ruthlessness, and the lawlessness that he finds himself facing. So much so that by the end of the movie, he simply has no explanation or solution for it. It's a somber message, but it's expertly executed, and it adds a layer of depth that elevates the film into masterpiece territory. Usually I'd spend the rest of the video talking about the film's flaws, but this film doesn't have much, if any. I just think it's great. It's not just one of my personal Best Picture winners ever, it's one of my personal favorite films, period. If you haven't checked it out by now, then you better do it quickly, because if you don't, Anton will find you. No Country for Old Men is an easy top 10 Best Picture winner of all time for me. It's pretty much a flawless movie. The only negative thing I can say about it is that I wouldn't have given it the trophy, which is incredible if you ask me. By the way, if There Will Be Blood would have won, it would have landed at number 3. But number 5 is nothing to sniff at. It's a terrific motion picture, and I love it to death. Up next is the 81st Best Picture winner, a film that easily won the award because the clear best film that year wasn't even nominated. Slumdog Millionaire, a victory that would generate a massive change to the Oscars for years to come. Check back again for the next video of DB Review's Oscar Madness Marathon and subscribe to my channel so you won't miss a thing. Thank you all very much, and let the journey continue.